Hello, you're very welcome along to another episode of the Tackling Sport podcast and Premier League predictions. It's Daniel here, joined alongside me by my brother Sean.
How's it going?
And we have reigning champion of the Premier League predictions going for 3 in a row, a crowd's favourite, James Moffat, Leeds United fan. James, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
You were ridiculed for the 3-1 Leeds pick, but a lot of our listeners are rich off the back of your tip there.
Yeah, should be. Expected more thank yous from everyone, but yet to get any.
And then we'll take him on then another Jers man in a Jers rivalry, Jers skipper, the original skipper and the skipper, David Lavelle. David, welcome to the podcast.
All right, lads, thanks for having us. Looking forward to giving this young fella a bit of a clipping.
He was having a pop at your football knowledge skills there just before we came on air.
Don't be worrying about him, he's all talk.
Slagging his Gaelic skills as well.
Okay, that's fair enough now.
I heard Tag Rugby get a mention there as well, but listen, we'll get straight into it. We'll go for you, Moffat, reigning champion, Aston Villa versus Arsenal. What were your thoughts on we'll go straight to midweek. Did you see much of the David Luiz incident? What do you think of it?
I think first time ever Arsenal fans feel remorseful for David Luiz, is it?
Yeah. And everyone, we genuinely felt sorry for him for once.
Yeah, I don't know. Arsenal have let me down every time I've backed them on this podcast, so I went for a boring 0-0. I think that's just how it's going to play out. Not sure, is Saka back?
Yeah, Saka should be playing.
So, yeah, I think it'll be a 0-0 bore fest. Yeah, not much to say about this one.
Well, Dave?
I went 2-1 Villa. I think Arsenal are playing for Matt Ryan to be fit. He's useless anyway. Like, he got dropped by Brighton for that Ramirez or whatever your man's name is.
Sanchez.
He is shy. Like, him against, like, whatever about Liverpool losing to Brighton yesterday, the fact they didn't even shoot at that chap, like he's absolutely useless. The fact that he got dropped for him says it all. And then Luiz's red card didn't get overturned, but I saw the other one did. So I don't know what the Bednarex did, but so I don't know. But that might be a blessing in disguise for Arsenal. But yeah, I still think Villa will win it.
Sean, yeah, don't take too long now on this rant on David Luiz, but just a quick word on it.
Yeah, no, I think it's one of them where it's 100% his reputation gets him sent off. You know, even Peter Walton on BT said that David Luiz, he's got red carded before for this. He got red carded at Liverpool, got red carded at City last year. And I think if it's Rob Holding, even on the other side, that they think it's accidental, and it isn't as sort of deliberate as if Luiz did it. So 100%, I think it's his reputation, and that's a problem as well in the sense, Granit Xhaka is probably another one who suffers with that. But yeah, I know it's a tricky tie for Arsenal. Emi Martinez's first 2 mistakes of the year probably came against West Ham with both Lingard's goals. He'd expect himself to save. And Villa, they're probably at a stage in the season where Dean Smith will know it's very important to just get a win. And, I think Everton have gone through that, and West Ham have gone through that, where you have a bad result and you've had a really good season. It's just important to get another win or a positive result. So it's not an easy game for Arsenal. So it'll be interesting to see. I think it'll just be a game full of counter attacks and paceful transitions. And look, I think a draw wouldn't be far wide of the mark. And one thing that has to be said is Villa's defence has been very good this season, and Martinez has been a huge part of that. So I'm sure Martinez will be looking to show Arsenal fans, what they're missing really. And Matt Ryan, I think goalkeepers have a history of either having a unbelievable debut or having a shocking debut. So it's going to be interesting if he does play.
Is he going to be back, Matt Ryan?
I think they're going to have to do everything to start him. I think, Runnerson, I said to a few of the lads, that he honestly looks like he's won a raffle to play in goal.
He's useless.
And we've had Arsenal have had some appalling keepers, and keepers that have played well for a couple of games and then shown they are hopeless. But I think Runnerson's probably in his couple of games, even in the Dundalk game, the second goal from Sean Hoare, he should save. And I just honestly, if he starts in goal, it could be 4-0 Villa.
I was watching a game with a United fan who was fair play to him. He was fairly patient throughout the whole David Luiz thing. There was no kind of digs, but when Renarson or whatever his name is, he kicked the ball out for that goal or for that corner, he just erupted laughing. Like, it was just, and I was fuming. Like, I was absolutely fuming. But
I feel sorry for him in a way, because you shouldn't be playing. He's not at that level. It's the same with Reece Williams at Liverpool for and the United game, you'd actually feel sorry for him because it can add more detrimental effect to their career in a couple of years, because they're at massive football clubs and they shouldn't be playing. It's the club's fault really for being in that situation. So he really is appalling.
Bring back Vito Manone.
Don Vito. Do you remember the year Sunderland got to the cup final? He was unbelievable at Old Trafford. So
I remember him celebrating in front of the fans. Actually, now that you said it, yeah.
Yeah, Don Vito.
Don Vito, yeah, good man, Moff.
Fucking pathetic.
We'll stick with you for Burnley versus Brighton. How do you see this game going? You've gone 0-0 for the first game. You could easily make a case this being, but I guess Brighton's improved 4 now, probably make some favourites going into this game.
I didn't want to be that bored and go 0-0 again, so I went 1-0. Burnley, just nothing to them. They're just your 15th best team. I think they're blessed at how shit the bottom 3 are, and should keep them up just purely on that. So went 1-0. I don't think Brighton. It's not a team that Brighton would be suited to play against, I don't think. So I think, yeah, 1 apiece is a fair enough results.
Yeah, you mentioned the Liverpool performance there, Lavelle. What were your thoughts on Brighton overall, I guess? Was it just Liverpool being really poor, a combination of the two?
Brighton deserved to win it, okay, both teams have beaten Liverpool and Anfield in the last 2 Liverpool games in Anfield here now. But Brighton were better yesterday. The Burnley game sickened afterwards, watching Trent Alexander-Arnold smash cross after cross into the Burnley box and just never even seemed to look up for a Liverpool player. Just head down, lump it in, see what happened. And it was frustrating against Brighton. They just looked dead. Brighton were better. As in, Brighton knew what they were doing, set up, and just beat Liverpool. Liverpool, but Salah's chance early on, if he got that, okay, it could be a different game. But other than that, Liverpool, I don't think, had another chance on goal that was in any way useful. And then Brighton, fair play to them, constantly tried to isolate Burn at the left back post and just constantly whipped those crosses in and got their goal for it. So deserved to win. Liverpool, 8 players out yesterday, just can't seem to catch a break on injuries. Not that Keller did anything wrong, but just always people just missing.
Yeah.
Nat Phillips, grand, but he's nowhere near it. If he has to play this weekend, serious issues. But I went 0-0 in this one. I think both teams aren't set up to attack or score, or they'll basically set up with 10 people behind the ball and try and counter, but that doesn't work when both teams are set up like that. So I just can't see anyone scoring, and I just see it being 0-0. And also, Sean Dyche just made to get results in these games.
Yeah. Sean, quick word on that, maybe Sean Dyche, because he got a little bit of hate there from Moffat.
I don't know if you heard his press conference, but
Sean Dyche is the most underrated manager in the league.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's going to get results. I think these are the games that Burnley have made their Premier League safety on. It's these games against the 14, 15 best team. You think about getting a result against Newcastle or Crystal Palace. And I really fancy Brighton, but I have to say Brighton were outstanding at Anfield. People say they put men behind the ball. Yeah, they did to a certain degree, but how many times, even in the first half, did they beat the press and play through Bassoum and play through Pascal Gross? And like I said, it was one of the best away performances I've seen from a bottom half team, because they had a bit of everything. They were direct, they were bodies on the line defensively, their centre halves were excellent, but they played through midfield. And I must say, I think Graham Potter has been under a little bit of pressure, and that just eases everything. And I think they'll take the game to Burnley, but I think it's just going to be a Sean Dyche masterclass. And even if you look at January, wherever Burnley were probably promised to get a load of new signings with the new takeover, and I think there's worrying news for Burnley fans there, because I think they're in a lot of debt now because of the takeover. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays. But Sean Dyche is doing an outstanding job there.
Absolutely. Then listen, from one kind of English manager to another, and Steve Bruce, Moff, will go for you. Brucey, yeah, Newcastle at home to Southampton. You proved the haters wrong with that Everton away win now.
Yeah, he's got them on. Southampton is more of a conversation. It's a good gig, good match for Brucey at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know. Can Southampton beat anyone at the moment? Their only win is against Liverpool in their last 7 games. So went Newcastle 3-0. I watched the game against Crystal Palace. It was an unreal game to watch. Just a load of, between them and Crystal Palace, just a load of fast players who beat a man and then fall over their own feet. Entertaining on the eye, but really bad football play. yeah, I think Southampton are just a shambles at the minute. So I think Newcastle could put the knife in.
Yeah, what were your thoughts on that 90-second red card as well for Southampton?
The first one's a stone wall red. Like that, Sean said it beforehand that he tried to leave, they decided to keep him, and then he just goes in and just boot. I don't know what. Like he just studs down the kneecap, down the shin. Like you're just gone. There's no argument at all to be made of it. The second one's a dive by Marcelo, and I don't know. Mike Dean just lives for the drama and the limelight, so he's just mad to give the red card. But but like the second one got overturned. So Bednarek's playing, so I think that's huge for them as well, because Callum Wilson would have loved if he wasn't there. I actually went the complete opposite of Moffat and went Southampton 2-0.
Oh wow, interesting. Good to have a bit of opposite there, Sean. Quick word.
Yeah, no, Southampton were awful. You were kind of bigging them up for a lot of times. I don't know. There was always something with Southampton that worried me. Whether it was the depth or just tiredness of playing the kind of same system and being, so exhausted after games. And I think you're right about Mike Dean. No matter what game it is, drama follows him. He lives for it. I actually sometimes I just turn him off if I'm watching a game. That he's that much an effect on the game. So it'd be interesting to see who he's reffing on the weekend. But it's a very interesting game. I think Joe Willock might start for Newcastle. He's on loan from Arsenal, but he gives them something different in that midfield. Probably more attacking focus than anyone else in that midfield. But it was a very good win away to Everton for Steve Bruce. And it's one of those games where if Southampton lose, their season can go into free fall with the injuries and after the back of a 9-0. So you'd be expecting a reaction. So it's a tough one to call.
How on earth is Jeff Hendrick still a footballer in the Premier League?
No, I watched him. I can't remember what game it was, but me and you were saying, Dan, they've just stopped playing for Steve Bruce, and it was the Villa game where the game 100% bypassed Jeff Hendrick. So, there's a lot of interesting calls for Stephen Kenny to come in March. One being the goalkeeper, one being the right back position, and another being midfield, because Jeff Hendrick, even though he's playing Premier League, he's not playing at a high level to it. So he's going to struggle to get in the team now, I think, with Willock and Shelby.
Jeff Hendrick plays in teams where midfield just isn't used. Like Newcastle, he's getting bypassed. Burnley, he used to just go over his head and he just kind of potter around. He's never been unbelievable. Like, as in Burnley's fortunes uplifted after he left like last year. I don't know. I don't see how good he is. And those calls, Sean, I don't think Matt Doherty's going to get picked if he's not getting picked at Spurs either.
Who are you going to bring in instead? Some fucking right back for Shells. He's obviously getting picked.
No, Seamus Coleman. He's your captain, mate.
Coleman can't start for Everton.
Well, that's true.
He can't get into Everton.
Coleman can't play 2 games in a week either.
No.
So
we're a bit of a mess, lads. I was looking forward to the month off before discussing Ireland's problems, but Jesus, it doesn't sound great, to be honest with you. Although Kelleher played all right for Liverpool, all things considered, I guess. Listen, Lavelle, we'll go straight to Fulham versus West Ham. London derby. How do you see this game going?
West Ham 3-0. Fulham got beaten by Leicester without Vardy, which is never a good sign. West Ham, had a bad game against Liverpool. Last night, turned it on again. Jesse Lingard scored twice. I don't know where that came from. Souček can't stop scoring. Like, that's from midfield. I know they probably needed a striker in January, but they seem to be getting away without it between what Lingard did yesterday and then Souček just keeps scoring. Valencia isn't a striker, Antonio isn't a striker, but yeah, I don't know. I just can't see Fulham doing anything. I also don't see Fulham staying up. I think they're crap.
Off, go along with that.
Yeah, same. Went 2-1 West Ham. So just don't think they'll pull away. I think cruise control, but they won't pull away.
John, quick word on this one.
Yeah, I kind of, something in me fancies Fulham here a little bit.
Me too, Sean. Me too.
After going West Ham 2-1.
I kind of fancy Fulham to do something to kind of rock the boat. I don't think they're going to go down in a whimper. And these are the kind of games that you're looking at. And I know West Ham are 4th or 5th in the table, looking good. But these are the games you must fancy if you're Fulham, that to get something out of, because they kind of suit playing a West Ham side. They got that bit of attacking quality, and I don't think maybe with the introduction of Lingard, but I don't think you're 100% worried about that West Ham side. So I kind of fancy Fulham here, but West Ham being on a great run, Moisey doing a great job, and defensively they look really good. So, I don't think it's going to be much between the sides, but I fancy Fulham.
I backed Fulham to come 18th, so I think they'll pick up a few points along the way. And West Ham take the foot off the pedal after a few good wins.
It's a difficult position for West Ham, because it's one of them where they're kind of looking around and they're probably in the position where, are we kind of like a little bit like United, are we good enough to be here? Are we good enough to compete and win those games when they are 0-0 and it's what champions are made of, or it's what gets you European football. So I think they're in a difficult position at the moment, trying to manage expectation as well. But it's an interesting one for David Moyes, because I think he's doing an unbelievable job. I don't think he's getting the credit for it, and I could easily see it going south.
Well, I thought Scotty Parker spoke well when he said, like, against Leicester's not the time to get in points. He actually mentioned the likes of West Ham this weekend for points. So yeah, I could definitely see Fulham getting something. Dave, we'll go to you. You made a comment there, and Marcelo was diving for the penalty. Manchester United versus Everton. How do you see this game going? And a quick word on United then, on their record equaling 9-0 Premier League win.
Probably the two teams I hate most in the Premier League.
Thought so.
I hate both of them. I'm not even going to speak about United, but Everton, they have notions about themselves, but they're entirely average. Pickford and Nets is probably the worst keeper, or if not one of the worst keepers in the league. They're a mid-table team. I don't like Calvert-Lewin went on streak. I don't think he's all that good either. I just don't see Everton as all that good. I also don't think United are going to beat them. I went for 0-0. I think Alan will do a job on Bruno. Without him, if he gets in any way close attention, or if he can drift out of games pretty sharpish, and United can tend to struggle. I went for 0-0. I think United they beat Southampton, and then Liverpool obviously fell apart last night, so they're now the title contenders against City. Anytime that tag kind of gets put on them, they crumble. I just see a 0-0, just a boring 0-0 in Old Trafford. I don't see a good game at all.
I kind of think the same, but I think it's one of those games that Man U will just nick and win somehow after playing shit for 80 minutes. But yeah, I don't see it being a good game for some reason, even though Everton are actually quite good to watch. It was a great game last night against Leeds. But yeah, fucking funny, Pickford being out. Their sub-keeper played unreal yesterday. He made 2 or 3 very good saves. So wonder, could that be Pickford out of the England squad if your man manages to hang on to his place?
Definitely potential there.
I don't know how Pickford starts for England.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think Nick Pope is definitely, albeit though he was poor for Burnley last night. I think they're struggling in the keeping department, to be honest with you.
I think that and a settle, whatever they play, back 4, back 5, I think is going to cost England. But on Everton, they're entirely set up to win these games. That's what Carlo Ancelotti has brought into. He's made them a better side. But if you look at their away record, I think they've won 4 on the bounce. They've gone to Wolves and won. They've gone to Leeds and won. They beat Arsenal, Chelsea at home. So, I think it's going to be a struggle for United, and Everton are kind of playing with the old Liverpool with 4 centre backs that in the back 4 with Godfrey, Holgate, Mean, and Keane. So it's not going to be attacking fullbacks playing, and Luca Dean probably left mid. So it's probably going to be a game where Ole Gunnar Solskjaer treats it like a big game, treats it like the big games they played this year, where they've been very, very defensively sound. So probably 1 goal is going to win it, and I think Ole is going to go in with that mentality.
Moff, what was your score prediction United game? What'd you go for?
Well, 1-0 Everton. Or 1-0 to Man U,
1-0
sorry.
United.
Man U to make it.
And I presume you didn't have any money on them for the 9-0 win, no?
No, nothing.
You're getting the wrong side of them every time.
One of my friends actually was 400 quid. He had a few yellow cards and a big bet builder, but it was the hand. He had both teams to score. So that far decision of the handoff from Che Adams was 400 quid or something down the drain.
Oh, yeah, to see it.
That was
a shocking offside now, to be fair, that one.
That was one of the I think that is the worst one I've seen this year.
But if you actually look at it, Southampton had the handball from Matty Cash not given. VAR controversy for that. Danny Ings is offside again in the 90th minute to cost them a point, and then obviously the penalty and the disallowed goal of United. So they probably had the worst week anyone's ever had with VAR.
Mike Dean was VAR for that handball decision, and they've asked that he doesn't referee any more of their games. They've had enough
Yeah,
from him.
himself and Lee Mason, and then was it Wolves that requested not
Yeah.
Lee Mason? So that's 10% of the Premier League teams don't want Lee Mason.
I've seen a few people saying that they could just request get rid full time and do everyone a favour.
The standard of officiating is appalling, and if you actually look at the Championship, it's not much better. So, you think some of the ones in England in the top leagues are bad, and the ones in the Championship coming through aren't much better. And you actually look at some of the Championship refs who've come into the Premier League in the last couple of years are worse.
Sorry, going back to what you were saying there, I was actually, can't remember why I was on it the other day, but I was on Sky Bet, and they have odds for the players that'll go to the England Euro squad, and it's the most frustrating look at from an Ireland point of view. The amount of unbelievable players there, like Ben White's 20-1 to go to the Euros for England. He'd be Ireland's best player by a country mile. Like even the
Wan-Bissaka, who's 50 mil, who's not going to get in a right back.
Yeah, it's madness.
Jesus, that's mad.
We're fucked for a long time.
It's when you put it in perspective like that. Like fair enough, everyone knows England have better players, but when you've 20-1 Ben White, like you said, he's not even considered for the team. Like he won't.
Our best centre half is Shane Duffy, who Luke
not anymore.
Not anymore. Yeah,
he still is.
England's biggest weakness is definitely the manager and definitely the goalkeeper. And I think this England team is the closest that they've ever been, especially in Ireland. Well, in my lifetime, I'm genuinely worried they're going to win either the Euros or the World Cup because, like Moffat said, the strength and depth is ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely. Listen, Moff, we'll stick with you then for Spurs versus West Brom. I know you're Jose, you enjoy his content, that sort of thing, but he's just kind of petering away. It seems like he's having this third season syndrome early almost, although he's been a bit unlucky, I guess, with Harry Kane's injury as well.
Can't lose to West Brom. No. They're the worst team in the league. So 2-0, straightforward, Jose game. 2 goals and then a bore fest for 50 minutes.
It is one of those games though, if it's we're recording before Chelsea versus Spurs now on Thursday night, but it's one of those games, Moff, if it's 0-0 after 60 minutes, you can easily see it finishing 0-0.
Yeah. His style of football is fucking so bland, but he's not changing for anyone, and power to him.
Yeah, he loves it. Lavelle?
What you go for there, Moff?
2-0.
Oh, I went 3-0 Spurs. I think even without Kane, West Brom are shit, and I like Spurs have to click eventually. Okay, it'll take a game or two to get used to not having Kane up there, but they have to click eventually. I think they have too much good players there, like Son and Dembele. There's too many players there that are good enough. I see tonight they're starting man Vinicius up top, who's actually a striker. So I reckon that might actually help them, give them proper shape on it rather than trying to force Son to play up there. Gareth Bale is more interested in playing golf than in Spurs. He seems to be finished as a professional footballer at club level anyway. He doesn't seem to have any interest in playing for anyone. Yeah,
Sean, you can't really argue with any of that, really.
No, but it's not. If you ask Jose Mourinho, it's not a game he'd pick to have, because it's who they struggle against. And West Brom, if you look at it, taking a point off Man City, a point off Liverpool, their problem has been defensively at home, where they kind of have to attack the game more. They were poor against Sheffield United, a couple of individual errors. They brought in a few new players, Ainsley Maitland-Niles on loan, Diane up front, and I think they've a Turkish midfielder as well. So, look, if Big Sam is to do anything, he's going to have to get something out of these kind of games now. But I think it's going to be a 1-0 Tottenham win or a 2-1 Tottenham win.
I definitely can see West Brom hanging in there for long periods, maybe get a draw. Dave, let's go over to you for Wolves versus Leicester. Watching the Wolves Arsenal game, I think Wolves came alive in the second half. After that, David Luiz before, I thought they were pretty poor. Leicester, like you mentioned, without Jamie Vardy, got a good result against Fulham. It's a tricky enough game for them here. How do you see it going?
Arsenal were all over Wolves until that red card. It's like everyone was raving at Xhaka, who's come on and seems unreal. But like Wolves, I don't know what's happened to them. They seem to have just fallen off a cliff. They're nowhere near the team they were last year. I think Leicester will win 1-0, even without Vardy. Like Harvey Barnes can't seem to stop scoring. Madison and Tielemans are playing unreal. Your man Tielemans was a FIFA prodigy kid and seems to actually be doing something in real life now, unlike many of them. I think I went 1-0 Leicester. I don't know what's happened to Wolves.
Yeah, I guess Moff, it's great seeing FIFA players fulfill their potential. Like
what's your man's name? Freddie Adu, wonder kid.
Still waiting. But you were big on Phil Jagielka on the FIFA with was it Joseph Yobo last week?
Oh, best partnership the game's ever seen. Yeah, I went 2-1 Leicester. Same points, same everything. Wolves just don't seem to be good anymore. Nice seeing Traore back running, charging at Leno yesterday. But yeah, I don't see Wolves causing them too much of a trouble.
Yeah, Sean.
There's something about Wolves. I think they're sometimes you kind of need to refresh, and I don't think they've done it. I think they kind of brought in a lot of very young players. I think they signed a man, the right back from Liverpool. What's his name? Hoover or something.
Hoover or
yeah,
whoever.
Yeah, so I think they're kind of gone for that to build for a few years. But I don't know. I just think, like you said, they were awful against Arsenal in the first 45 minutes. Got lucky with the red card and a few bits, and then they started playing. So hopefully it is a kickstart for them. Because at times you nearly worry for them if they didn't get a result against Arsenal, they would have been below Brighton, I think. So they'd definitely be looking over their shoulder because stranger things have happened.
Yeah, I actually think that 3 points could end up keeping them in the league if they keep going on this sort of bad form. But just that 3 points will be huge for them. But onto the game of the week, game of the weekend. Dave, are you back in the title race if Liverpool beat City on Sunday?
No, I think everyone keeps making this up that Liverpool are in this title race. Like they can't be. Like if Liverpool were to pull off this title, it just makes Jurgen Klopp the best manager ever. There's no question. Look at the teams he's had to play, like 20 different centre back pairings. Like we're playing with midfield and centre half since basically October. Like they're not in the title race. Liverpool to make top 4 this year will be an achievement given what's going on. I still think they'll beat City at the weekend though. I fully think they will. Might be heart rule in my head, but I think if Alisson's back, I think Mane will be essential, and then if Fabinho's back to replace Nat Phillips, that'll be huge. There's going to be more space. They struggled against Burnley when there's people behind the ball, can't pick them apart. I think if City play, they'll play more attacking. They'll try and press them higher up. Be similar to West Ham, trying to play it a bit higher. And if that space appears, Liverpool, if they have the players there, like if Mane's back, if Salah's there and Firmino's there, I think they'll just pick them apart. I think Roberto Firmino is a cert to score. He loves scoring against City. He hasn't scored in a while either. Well, and then yeah, I fully think they'll beat them in Anfield. I just can't see them losing. I still think City will go on to win the league. They're an absolute machine. They're going to add Aguero back in. Their depth is silly. Like they're switching Laporte and Stones to play alongside Diaz just at their leisure. Their depth is silly. Like the amount of players they have don't make any other team is ridiculous. So I wouldn't be surprised if City didn't lose again for the rest of the season. But I still think Liverpool beat them.
Score
2-1 Liverpool.
2-1. Moff, I saw were you shaking your head in disagreement about the Jurgen Klopp comment there?
Is it my turn to talk, is it? I stopped listening once he said Klopp is the greatest manager ever. You know who I'm saying? Marcelo, man. What he's done with that Leeds bunch.
Moff.
Don't get me started.
Don't get Sean started on Bielsa.
Be here all night.
Not having that.
I think City will absolutely spank Liverpool. I went 3-0.
Wow. So what if Klopp isn't? If what about Dave's comment there? To be fair, like if they did win the league, they've had a serious amount of injuries. I know City lost Laporte last year.
They won't win the league.
No, that's a fair point. Yeah, fair point. Yeah.
Liverpool won't win the league, so there's no point in even having that conversation. Oh yeah, they're too far behind. City are too good. I think City would have to fuck up so badly for Liverpool to win the league that everyone will talk about them bottling as opposed to Liverpool winning it. And I'd probably back Man U to finish ahead of Liverpool as well, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's Sean. A quick word on that. I guess you took exception to his Marcelo Bielsa. We might leave that for the Leeds fun, but yeah, I guess it would be some achievement from Klopp if Liverpool did get back into this title race. But are they still in it if they beat City on Sunday?
No, I think they need to beat them or at least draw. I don't think you can afford to lose even this early on.
But are they still in the title race even if they win? Like
I think they are in it. Yeah, of course they are. Stranger things have happened. especially when Champions League comes back. City still playing in the Carabao Cup final, FA Cup. So I still think there's a long way to go, but I still think this Liverpool team are rapidly underachieving at the moment. They're not playing well. They still have probably one of the best players in the league in Mohamed Salah. And I know Alisson wasn't playing there last night. I know they've had injuries. They still have their two fullbacks fully fit. I think there's something wrong with Liverpool at the moment. I think we've seen it ever since there's been maybe no crowds there. When they won the league, they were poor, lost to Arsenal. And they've just played un-Liverpool like in the last eight months or so. And I wouldn't fully blame it on injuries because, you know, Van Dijk was playing against Aston Villa. I know Adrian wasn't playing. And I think the Liverpool side, I've said it for a few weeks now. It's almost as if they're playing with a chip on their shoulder, like everyone's out to get them, like it's designed for them not to win it again. I think they just need to get back to just playing football and moving the ball quickly. You know, Jurgen Klopp saying the Liverpool players were tired. He didn't change the midfield. He kept the same midfield four that played wide, and you've got Curtis Jones on the bench, you've got Chamberlain on the bench. They let Minamino go to Southampton. So I just think there's something to miss at Liverpool. I'm not sure if it's to do with higher up the Klopp, but there's something not wrong for them not to be clicking. And they have the attacking players to score goals, and they're just not scoring goals. So I wouldn't necessarily blame this all on injuries. I can understand a portion of it going. You're missing your best centre half. You're probably your talisman. Then you lose Joe Gomez to a bit of a freak injury. Matip hasn't been able to rely on. So I just think there's something wrong at Liverpool. And maybe it is, you know, it is difficult to win it back to back, and it is difficult to maintain this level of success and the hungerness. And I do think that there is something up because it's just not clicking for them.
They need Henderson back in midfield. You need Henderson back in midfield, and you need Mane back in the team. Like there was one loose pass by Brighton yesterday, and Shaqiri picks it up, and he doesn't have the pace to drive at the centre half. And if Mane gets it, Mane goes one-on-one with him, and you're probably thinking Mane will do him. But like Shaqiri gets it, the left back or the right back and the other centre half are back in position before he's even made 5 yards. Like he just had to turn back then. And like without Mane driving at people, it's easy to just mark Salah and stop running in behind. And like Henderson not in midfield and playing centre half.
I also think Jordan Henderson isn't this world beater.
Yeah, no, I agree.
He's important though to drive him forward at pace though.
Yeah, but they were losing game, and Henderson played against Brighton when they drew at the MX. So I get that. Like Henderson's gone back to centre back the last couple of games, but I know he's important. But you still got Thiago in there, Champions League winner. You've got Wijnaldum, you've got Milner. I think just Klopp picked the wrong side against Brighton. He should have put Curtis Jones in there, who's that little bit of something different. I just think there is something to miss, and everyone. I always think you're always a better player when you're out of the team or you're not in your own position. And I don't think Jordan Henderson transforms that Liverpool side into winning that game 3-0. And I think that's a huge problem for Liverpool, because where they were winning those games 3-0 last season, or maybe 4-0 like they beat Wolves earlier this year, I just think there is something up, and I wouldn't put it down to Henderson going centre back, because they still got, again, probably the two best attacking fullbacks in the league. You've got Salah, Firmino, Shaqiri's a good player. So I would question what is going on at Liverpool. And, you know, people are talking a lot about Klopp having this spell at Dortmund where it eventually all ended for him. I don't think it's as drastic as that, but there is certain signs of things not going right for Liverpool.
What about just your quick word there on Jordan Henderson? You were saying?
Not a world beater. Like obviously he wouldn't prove them, but if he was that good and that important in midfield, they would have urgently signed a centre half and had him back in there at all costs.
No, I agree.
Liverpool don't do that. That's not in the structure or shape of anything Liverpool have done in the last 3 years. Like they've never panicked bought.
Yeah, well, Nora's having 3 centre backs injuries. You need a fucking contingency plan. Everyone.
They have 2 now.
They went out and bought Van Dijk at Christmas. It was Christmas time that they bought
There
him.
we go, Sean. Go on. There we go. Go on, Lavelle. Answer that like a good lad.
They tried in the summer, got turned down. Were ready, didn't pay, wouldn't pay, and then paid in January. But they didn't.
Yeah, because they needed him. They did need him. They had it all done at Christmas. They could have had that done with a centre half. That's why I think there is something. I think it's probably above Klopp maybe that's going on where the owners are, maybe they're counting their money, I don't know. But for Liverpool to be in this position where we're in February and they're out of a title race after where they've been with the players they have, let's not forget, I know Van Dijk is being injured and Gomez and their defense has been all over the place, but they haven't scored goals. They haven't looked like scoring.
They were scoring goals before Jota got injured.
To be fair to Dave, now Jota, I have to say Jota is a pretty
Jota
big
got
loss.
injured, then Mane got injured. Jota was phenomenal before he got injured. Like phenomenal. Scored some amount of goals for a player who's coming in to play backup, second fiddle to this front three. And then he came in and was unbelievable. And then manages to get injured.
But you got injured in a Champions League game where they were already through. And I know a lot of people were questioning that. And James Milner got an injury.
And he's the greatest manager ever, is he?
But I'm not. I think Liverpool, like I said, there's something seriously wrong with Liverpool why they're not scoring. And I don't think it's just to do with injuries. If you look at the way they're not playing. Like they don't look like they're going to score goals at the moment.
I guess they're kind of gone to that possession base. You touched on Sean very briefly. They're gone towards that possession base, i.e., they brought Thiago in the summer because they wanted to maybe, if Liverpool are playing so many games, it's probably unsustainable to play that style of football that they played last season. But it's probably backfired more because of the injuries, maybe, as opposed to Klopp.
Yeah, it's just too slow and weak. I don't think if there was. No Liverpool fan has enjoyed watching them play at home to Burnley or Brighton because they don't look like a team you'd like to watch, and that's the problem. They have to go back to where they were,
back to their roots.
It's gonna be hard, yeah.
That Ben Davies sign would be very interesting because Klopp's comments were that he said that we don't normally go to Preston unless in normal transfer windows, which is an obvious thing to say. I don't know, maybe I read too much into it. I thought it was a bit of a line. I don't know how Ben Davies feels. Maybe not too dissimilar to bit of Spoas, maybe a lesser extent after signing the Celtic player. But listen, we'll move on. We spent a good bit of time talking about Liverpool City. Moff went 3-0 City, Dave went 2-1 Liverpool. It'll be a great game, lads, in fairness. I think that, possession style football might be thrown out the window for one game, hopefully, and we get a cracking game. But go on, Sean, sorry.
City, Pep's that City are going to just control the whole game, I think.
To try and go for more. They'll try and maybe play a bit, because Dave touched on maybe Burnley playing, Burnley, City suiting, Liverpool playing City soon a lot better than Burnley, but I guess they might.
What do you lads think for a change? What score prediction are the two of you given?
Please don't be doing that to me.
I would really fancy City. Klopp has a strangle over Pep, so I'm sure Pep will want to kind of right a few wrongs. They've been really poor at times when they've gone to Anfield.
I do think the lack of a crowd is huge, isn't it? For this particular game.
No, but I've seen a lot of tweets from Liverpool fans saying no team misses fans more than this Liverpool team, which you would agree they are missing them. You could argue teams like Celtic are missing them, but if you look at the record in the league, everyone's winning away from home, so it's not just a Liverpool issue. But no, I think it's going to be one of those Manchester City performances where you can just sit back and go, wow, Pep Guardiola is the best.
The only thing with I go City win, but every time you think City will win a big game against Liverpool, they don't. Pep Guardiola in big games. This is he's won the Premier League, and if they just don't lose this game, basically, they knock Liverpool out of the title race, might have a bit more work to do United. But something about Pep Guardiola in big games. That Champions League quarter final last year, he played that ridiculous formation to practice for the semi-final, I think. So
I think he's going to play Walker at right back for his recovery pace and Cancelo at left back, because I think everything just seems to be working that way. I know Walker's had his few moments, but I think you kind of need that.
What do you think? Do you think? Sorry to interrupt. Do you think Laporte might come in at left back just purely based that he tried him out for the first time for the season there?
I see what they're doing with when in possession they 3 centre halves and Cancelo was floating, but I think you need Kyle Walker's pace, especially against Salah. You'd imagine Mane will be fit. And that's where Liverpool's strength is. So I wouldn't play Laporte there, because if you look at their back three then, or whatever way they want to play, it's not the quickest. So I think you do need Kyle Walker.
It also deserves a shout out. Ederson's pass to Mahrez and then Mahrez touch. Wow, absolutely beautiful.
Absolutely outrageous. It was one of them I missed watching the goal with Match of the Day, in the initial coverage, and they got back in it. But yeah, it was unbelievable. And his slide tackle, that yellow card tackle was on the touchline wasn't great now for Henderson. But listen, we'll move on. I do think Alisson's been...
Mahrez, though, you have to hit it, don't you? It's a Puskas winner if he hits it. They shepherded him so well and he had to pass it back. But put your foot through it and hope for the best, man.
Listen, off. We'll stick for you. Sheffield United, Chelsea spent way too long on Liverpool City there. But go on. Quick score prediction.
I'm actually, it's a killer now. We're doing this before Chelsea Spurs. So I saw Werner's leading the line. It's the kind of thing, if he scores against Spurs, he could go out and get a hat-trick against Sheff. He's got to just start scoring at some point, doesn't he? Tuchel obviously believes in him. Tommy the Tank. So, yeah, I think Spurs should beat Sheff anyway, handy enough. I went 3-0. Even though they don't look like conceding goals. Tommy ball, see what it has to offer.
Yeah, it's boring. Well, not boring so far. They're passing a lot. Dave, quick word on this one. We might spend a bit of time on Leeds then.
Yeah. Sheffield have had a bit of resurgence, but I don't know what the story is with Chelsea. Maybe tonight I'll give them a bit more. I think it'll be 0-0 tonight, but I don't think they fully know what they're up to under Tuchel or whatever you call it. Yeah. I went 1-0 Chelsea. I think they'll just about nick it, same as that Burnley game that was in them. I think they'll win, but I just think it'll be just about. I can't see them spanking them.
Yeah, Sean, briefly on Chelsea, I guess, and Sheffield United.
Yeah, I think it could be one of them games where Thomas Tuchel gets a welcome to sort of, I don't want to be like the traditions, but a bit of English football, if you like. And
you sound like Big Sam now, you know that.
Yeah, no, I think Chris Wilder can do an ambush.
Yeah, I know what you
mean. Last year they beat Arsenal, Unai Emery's Arsenal, and it just looked like Arsenal were so naive in that game. And I think Sheffield United could do the same. And they're on a bit of a good run. Chris Wilder believes, and to be honest, I never stop believing.
Yeah, fairness to you, keeping the faith. Moffat, Leeds United, we'll get a couple of minutes in on them. Marcelo Bielsa, you know, I think there's critics waiting to throw a book at him, you know, every time they lose. One of them's in the bottom left-hand corner there, regarding that Coach of the Year award he got last year. A lot of people saying he didn't deserve it, the World Coach of the Year. What are your thoughts? A lot of haters out there for Bielsa. I didn't realise this until
when you go from Thomas Christensen and Gary Monk and Neil Warnock and the lads, they're probably the best we even had in the Steve Evans, Dave Hockaday. Who even was the fella?
Neil Redfern.
Yeah, so just they were, what did they come, like 13th in the championship? He came in. They should have got promoted, bottled us second year, won us. They haven't really signed. Other than Rafinha, who looks like one of the best players in the league at the minute. Like you take him and Rodrigo out, it's the same group of lads that came 13th in the championship 2 years ago. And that was a 13th that was probably closer to relegation than promotion. So, like Stuart Dallas would come on for Leeds and I'd be about to throw the remote at the telly. The biggest donkey I've ever seen in my entire life. He's like a prime Park Ji-sung now. You stick him on anyone and he just takes him out of the game. Like Liam Cooper, League One Liam, the most hated man in Leeds for 2 years, and now people think he's all right. Bit of a howler. I don't really back up. I think he'd be an all right backup defender, but anyway, he's in there. Pascal Struijk, like Leeds, Pascal Struijk and Liam Cooper shouldn't be playing this year. Robin Koch and Diego Loriente are injured. There we go. And Jurgen Klopp's starting to back up the Liverpool defence, and no one's talking about that. You know, anything to say for that, Lavelle? No. Patrick Bamford, another one. Absolute donkey. He still is an absolute donkey, but he works hard. And he's got the goals this year, so I back him. Yeah, he's just done an unbelievable job. And I love him more than words can say.
That Patrick Bamford, just the way I know you're half joking there, but do Leeds fan give him the credit now? Because the abuse he was getting last year. No, you don't. Okay.
They don't. They all think he's criminally shit. The abuse they give him is off the wall.
It's so bizarre because when you watch Leeds every week, you know how important he is to the system. So, like, even when he doesn't score, he makes so much good runs and he's a bit of a handful. But you just know he's going to miss so many unbelievably easy chances. Like, I'm sure if you take the hat-trick out of Aston Villa, he's probably got really bad stats in front of goal this year. But he's done it. And, yeah.
Luis Suarez was like that in his first year in the Premiership. Came on to be great. We just need him to declare for Ireland. That's the biggest one now. He just needs to make the England squad and make the declare.
Patrick McBamford.
I think he's burnt that bridge.
Yeah, it's definitely. What do you think of here, home to Palace?
See, Palace have 8 players missing apparently, and apparently Zaha's a big injury out, which is big. I also didn't realise for some reason James McCarthy and James MacArthur. How are they 2 different people? The 2 of them are out.
Both played a Wigan. Both played a Wigan together.
Yeah, They're following each other around, I think. Yeah.
Siamese twins, same footballer, same name, just same person. But yeah, apparently Zaha's out, which is huge. Although, good fact, last year in the championship, one game Leeds lost was against QPR, and Eze absolutely took the piss out of Calvin Phillips. It was the only time I've ever seen him get properly spanked. He got sent off. It was around Christmas last year. So he's just one player I'm kind of worried for. I wish Leeds signed him. There's talk of he's class. Really, really rate him. So he could cause trouble. Be interesting to see if someone else picks him up or if Calvin will take him. But yeah, I went Leeds 3-1.
Dave?
I went 2-1 Leeds. I thought your man Eze would score all right for Palace. He looks quality. And then I think Rafinha looks, Moffat said it, he's been unreal this year. I'd like absolutely. Rodrigo was the big money signing of 40 million and was kind of like, I thought he'd lead the line and that would be that for Bamford. But like, he hasn't really done a whole heap. But your man Rafinha looks the business. Like he's scored goals. He's done it all really. So I thought he'd score as well. And
24 as well.
Thought Bamford again was just to keep sickening Leeds fans.
I put in a WhatsApp group last night. I don't think Rafinha will be at Ellen Road for too long. There's bigger clubs to come from.
See, that's we as us bigger clubs don't realize this, although I guess Arsenal probably do. Liverpool did back in the day. I guess you're too big now, and that players don't leave you anymore. They just leave Arsenal. Sean, listen, go quickly on that Marcelo Bielsa. Don't spend too long. You were having a little pop.
We have all night to talk about Marcelo.
This is like the extra time. This is our Patreon subscribers. This is the extra time. Yeah, this is the extra factor. We'll do a couple of minutes on Bielsa. You had a bit of a pop on his World Coach of the Year award, and I kind of half-heartedly defended him. I do think what he's done at Leeds is unbelievable. Yeah, but take it away. What are your thoughts?
He deserved it.
No, yeah, like what he did and how he's gone about his business was unbelievable. But I'm not sure, because one thing for me is because it was his second year in England. That was, if he came into the championship and got that Leeds team straight up and win the league like they did, play the football they did first season, I think he would have been an absolute shoo-in for the award. But I just think now, for example, it's kind of hard, but I'm not sure that he should be put in the same bracket as a Jurgen Klopp or a Hansi Flick. I just think it's a different sort of role, but he has done an unbelievable job. For example, like maybe Chris Wilder, I know they didn't play well at the end of this year, but finishing 8th in the Premier League was an unbelievable achievement. But even going back, what Eddie Howe did at Bournemouth, Sean Dyche at Burnley's done, I think if you look at it, maybe is a similar job to what Bielsa's done. But I think what Bielsa has brought to the Premier League, especially and even in the Championship last year, is unbelievable. And I think he did what no manager could do and struggled to do, and took that Leeds team back to where they should be. And I do think it was probably a little bit, I don't know if lucky's the right word, but I think he gets talked. He's one of them where he gets talked about so much that you always think, is he being treated fairly or unfairly? And it's one of them where this Leeds side have done so much in such a short space of time in the Premier League, and they warranted so much coverage that you always think with Bielsa, how long more is he going to stick it out with them? And that'd be an interesting question for Leeds going forward. But I think he's going to, when he does eventually go, I think he's going to lead Leeds in one of the best positions that they've been in for a long, long time, and a lot more stable than what they were under those owners, where they were hiring and sacking managers, and managers weren't lasting, a couple of months. So he's definitely brought about, in his mad world, he's brought stability to Leeds. And that's probably the most important thing.
Do you reckon he's the only manager who could get that out of those players? Like Moff said 2 years ago, they were mid-table championship and shit, and then he comes in and they're Premier League players. Like if he leaves and they have to get another lad in, like I know you said compared to Sean Dyche, but Sean Dyche's a manager who's never going to manage a big club. His style of football is puke, and he gets results with a Burnley and keeps them up. And I think he's criminally underrated in what he's done with a Burnley team that are championship at best. Like they're garbage, but he's kept them up and he keeps them playing, like keeps them in the Premier League. They've been there a good few years now. But Bielsa, Leeds are exciting, but the players, like Moff said, they're championship players, and if he leaves, are they going to go into free fall again?
Looking at Burnley's players here, their Burnley players are a lot more proven. Like Johnny Alioski isn't even Macedonia's best player. The fella's brutal. I just kind of thought,
if he leaves, are Leeds going to go into a free fall basically unless they spend massive money? That's what I'd wonder.
yeah, like we'll deal with it when it comes, but just we'll enjoy it while it's here.
Yeah, I do think his style of football, Moff, is
You
a
can't
big reason he got that
replicate it,
award.
You can't try and replicate it because you can't. But yeah, it was annoying. His assistant manager went to Huddersfield, Carlos Cobran, and I don't know how Huddersfield are doing, but I think it was kind of just going to be an in-house job and see how it went on. But yeah, could be a lot of trouble down the line. Yeah, I should cut myself off.
No, it'd be interesting, Moff. I was just going to say, sorry. It was the World Coach of the Year, Marcelo Bielsa. Fully deserving the award, in my opinion. But
he was nominated.
Nominated, sorry.
Who won it? Klopp or no? Hansi
Flick won it. No, Klopp won it. Klopp did win it.
Klopp won it. People are going mad because they were saying, how did the Bayern manager not get it? He won everything, and then Klopp got it for winning the league. Basically,
I think Klopp said it in his speech as well, which is a bit mad, but fair play to him. But listen, that's it. Sorry for going way over the hour, well, very close to the hour anyway. At Tackling Sports social media, you can get us. I'll run through the results very quickly. Aston Villa, Arsenal, Moff went 0-0, Dave went 2-1 Villa. Burnley, Brighton, Moff went 1-1, Dave went 0-0. Newcastle, Southampton, Moff went 3-0, Dave went 2-0 away. Moff went 2-1 West Ham away to Fulham. Dave went 3-0 away West Ham. United game, United Everton, and Moff went 1-0. United win, Dave went 0-0. Spurs West Brom, James went 2-0. Spurs win, Dave went 3-0. Spurs win. Wolves Leicester 2-1 away for Moffat and 1-0 away for Dave. Liverpool City then, Moffat went 3-0 City, Dave went 2-1 Liverpool. Sheffield United Chelsea 3-0 away win for Moffat, 1-0 away win for Chelsea. And then Leeds Palace, both home wins, 3-1 for Moffat and 2-1 for Dave. That's it, lads. Last thing is just to guess the minute of the earliest goal out of all 10 fixtures. So Moffat, quickly.
5.
Dave?
14.
14. Wow. Jeez, it could happen. I never checked to see what the earliest one, but that'll happen if it's a close one. 3 points for a correct result or correct score and 1 point for a correct result. Thanks very much for coming on, lads. Appreciate it. And we'll see one of you next week. James goes to 3 in a row, but thanks a million for coming on, Dave.
Best luck.
And Sean, thanks to you. We'll chat to you on Monday again. Have a great weekend.